Sorry.
All right, welcome in. You always do that. You're always doing a countdown before.
I'm just laughing because we used to have to do that every single time when we did this. So
okay.
I'm just laughing. It helps me get in the zone. I don't know.
People don't realize this, I guess. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Audacity. Look, it's the internet. Everyone has a podcast now, so I guess everyone knows what Audacity is. I had no idea how to record things.
They're
on
really
Skype.
fancy and they pay up for Logic or Pro Tools.
Yeah, I have Logic as well. But I remember years ago, you could use Skype to record people in a group, but that costs money. And eventually Skype changed their system, so I did not know how to do any of that. So you and me, and eventually DJ, he was going to be on here, but something came up. You and me and DJ, we would first of all be on our phones calling one another, and then we would count down at the same time, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I would match up the recordings where we all count down, and obviously I delete all that and then just go from there. That was a pain in the ass. If there's anything great about this pandemic, which there aren't many of those, it's the fact that Zoom has the capability of recording video and audio. So I wish we discovered this a lot sooner.
Absolutely. I mean, but it's sure been smooth, this last, I guess we've only done it twice. So, maybe small sample size, but yeah, this is a lot easier than having to mess with Audacity. And that's coming from the guy who, didn't have to do any of the editing or splicing or any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
The way that you had to.
No, I mean, every guest I've had on so far with this podcast, it's just everyone has Zoom now. Everyone knows what Zoom is. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone, even the least technological person out there, that doesn't know what Zoom is, or at the very least hasn't heard of it. So, man, I'm telling you, I wish we discovered this a lot sooner. I've always wondered how people would record video of other people and make it look so simple, and now I know why. Zoom, of all things. That's definitely
the more you know.
Yeah, that has definitely come through in the world of 2020. How have you been? I haven't talked to you a whole lot since we last did a podcast.
Still doing well. Still in Kansas City, which at this point, that's going to be kind of the that's going to be kind of default state until further notice. Just because, with the way that everything's been going here in 2020. It's just we've elected as a firm that we're not going back to the office there in New York for, realistically until some point next year. Couldn't tell you when. It's just kind of dragged out as we've gone. First it was oh yeah, we'll be back in June. Then it'll be Labor Day. Then I don't know, maybe Christmas. And then at this point, we've just kind of stopped moving the goalpost. We're like, you know what? We'll figure it out when it's time to go back. We'll go back.
Yeah, that's insane, man. I just heard the other day on the radio on Sirius XM, they said that they even they're not canceling the Boston Marathon, they're postponing it, and they're hoping to have it in 2021. They're saying hoping, which even then that still tells you people aren't sure how long this is going to go on for. Supposedly it's going to go away, after Election Day next Tuesday, so that would be quite the miracle. But I'm going to take a guess and say that's not happening. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I muted because I had someone walk into the room. My bad.
Oh, no, that's all good.
Sorry, and as such, I also lost my train of thought. Where were we?
We were talking about the Boston Marathon, and we have no idea how long this pandemic, and allegedly it's going to end after Election Day.
Yeah, maybe. I think it'll end as soon as there's a vaccine, whenever the hell that is. And even then, who knows?
Yeah, it's just so weird when we're watching all these sports. It's like, I said this when the Chiefs played the Texans on Thursday Night Football, which was the first game of the year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many teams are allowing fans. I know the Packers did not allow fans for the first 2 games, or at least that's what they announced before the season. I don't know what they're doing now. But it just felt like I was watching a preseason game because, you see Travis Kelce gets a touchdown and he's celebrating, and you see the fans in the background. And, it's dark, which, all the preseason games are at night, most of them at least. And there aren't a lot of people in the stands. So it just kind of has this like preseason feel to it. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. it is really weird to watch. Like, I hate this. I mean, I gotta actually hand it though to the TV broadcast types. I mean, they've done a really nice job piping in crowd noise. I genuinely wonder how it sounds if they pipe it in at the stadium too, because I would imagine they do something like that for the players' benefit, though I don't know.
Wait, do the TV, like the TV broadcast puts in the audio, or I thought the stadium did all that?
I don't know. I mean, I really couldn't tell you which of those it
Okay.
is. I guess I assumed it was the TV broadcast, but if it's the stadium, then that actually may make a lot more sense.
Okay.
But honestly, it's just weird getting used to seeing that. And the thing that honestly has struck me recently is that, they did Late Night in the Fog last weekend, or basically this time last week. Because, we're recording.
Oh,
this
they did
Friday
that?
night. Yeah, they did. Well, I mean, virtual Late Night at the Fog, let's be fair. It wasn't real
Okay.
Late Night at the Fog. But then, as part of that, I saw that they were, going to allow fans into the stands, for games this year, but it's going to be like 1,500 or something instead of, obviously the 16.
That is going to be weird.
Yeah. I mean, like you've been in there for women's games before. I assume you called a few for KJ.
Yeah.
I know I did. And so if I did, I guarantee you did. But yeah, it's going to be real weird to me to see, obviously KU basketball being, reduced to that level from an attendance perspective. Obviously we know why, but like, I genuinely wonder whether, there will be more losses in Allen Fieldhouse this year just because the building can't totally come alive the same way,
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'll be honest, I'm not a big college sports guy, and I know that's shocking as a KU basketball fan. It's just not been something I follow too closely. It's
shocking as a KU basketball fan. As a KU football fan, less.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just because this whole pandemic, it started right during the Big 12 tournament, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
like literally KU was warming up. I only know this because I may or may not have had the window open on my work computer when we were supposed to be playing at 11 o'clock against Oklahoma State. They were literally warming up. They had the broadcast up and ready to go, and then they called them off the floor.
That was weird. I was
ready to watch it on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget when it was, but it was wild because that was the day. I think it was it was the morning after the Rudy Gobert thing had happened. When they established
Tom Hanks and his wife
shut down. Yeah, so I guess it was probably that Thursday morning, if my memory serves.
Yeah, you're right.
It was just wild watching. I mean, at that point, we knew that the NBA had canceled games, and I was like, wonder if they're going to cancel this or not. And then when I saw that the broadcast was up and they were on the floor, I was like, neat, they're not canceling it. Then they're like, oh, just kidding. Yes, we are.
Well, who played that? Somebody did play that morning, though, before KU.
I think so, yeah.
That game still happened, and a lot of people were like, what the hell's going on? And I remember Todd Lebo of 810, he posted a photo of tip-off, but he didn't show the entire arena. And everyone was asking, it's like, because usually those Wednesday night Big 12 tournament games, it's like the bottom four teams or whatever. So attendance,
I don't 7 versus 10, 8 and 9 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what attendance is like for those games. But it's like
not awesome. But hey, comp tickets are still a thing, so who knows?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people weren't sure, is attendance low because that's natural for, a Wednesday night Big 12 tournament, or are people not going because of the pandemic? So it was just weird, man. I still remember, I think I shared this before. I was actually out on a date with a girl who, she wasn't really the brightest when it came to all of this. And she's a teacher too. Hopefully she's doing well, whatever she's up to. But then I remember she stepped out for a moment, and I just checked on my phone for a moment, and my mom texted me and said, the NBA season is postponed, and Tom Hanks and his wife announced they have the virus. It's like, and I just turned on Twitter, and everyone's losing their shit. I'm like, this is serious. This is real.
That's what Twitter's for. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
it's for big moments like that when you can watch the world lose its mind.
Well, what's crazy is the past couple of weeks before that, people were having all fun with this in a weird way because it was not in America yet. We were hearing, all European soccer leagues were postponed and everything, and people were kind of having fun with this. Oh, in a quarantine setting, what movies would you binge watch, or what TV shows would you binge watch? And we were all just like,
Yeah.
oh, haha,
Fast
yeah.
forward 7 months later, it's like, what haven't we binge watched yet? Anything new?
What have we been binge watched twice by this point? No, it's so crazy, man. I still remember. Well, I remember driving home.
Gotta say, that's like the one thing I haven't done much of in this. Yeah, in this.
I've done a
setting.
little bit of that. I mean, but see, you're still working though. I know you're working from home, but like you're still doing
helps.
stuff. Like I'm still. I was never one of those. I didn't stay home a whole lot from all of this, but I still remember going home that night and thinking, just running scenarios in my head. I'm like, are we going to be safe? Is crime going to go up? Are people going to lose their minds over this? Like, what's going to happen? And I think everyone just had.
I think you could argue that they certainly did lose their minds over it. I mean, as evidenced by the hoarding of toilet paper.
Yeah, toilet paper.
I mean, like, let's be honest. The first month of this, people were losing their collective shit.
Yeah, 100%.
And then about a month, maybe 2 months in, people were like, okay, well, this is how it is. And I guess we're going to have to learn to deal with that.
I'm still just shaking my head. Like, even though, it's been more than half a year, but to think something like this or anything would be capable of shutting down the world. And I know we've gotten sports back. There are some movies and TV shows that are still functioning in production, and we haven't seen a whole lot of that. But I mean, we haven't gotten normalcy back. It's still weird walking into grocery stores, seeing all these signs on the ground: walk this way, don't walk this way. Everyone must wear a mask. It just feels so weird, man.
To be fair, I screw that up half the time. I will realize about halfway down an aisle, because like there's no one else in there. And, I'll realize about halfway down, someone will turn in the other end of the aisle, be like, ah, shit, I'm that guy now. Awesome.
Yeah, I do this. I do the same thing. Like if no one's in the aisle, I mean, come on, I'm going to walk there. I've noticed Walmart removed their markings. So
I don't know. Just given up.
Yeah, I think some people are just giving up with this. I'll be honest. I get the logic behind it, but I didn't really see the need for it as long as everyone had a mask, which if you're in Walmart of all places, you're supposed to have them. Yeah. I know some grocery stores still have them, some don't, but they're saying it could still go on all the way through 2021. It's funny because I remember Fauci I guess he was quoted at some point saying the coronavirus could be a seasonal thing. It's like, we got to get through this first. Like we're still going on for months and months, could be a year now. We should not be talking about a seasonal thing first. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know when this is going to end. I'm prepared for this to go on for as long as possible. Listen, I love going out to sports bars and restaurants, all these things as much as anyone else, but I'm not going out, man. I'm just not. I mean, and I know people are going to say
going to sporting events.
I know people are going to say,
being able to be in the stands and be a loud, rowdy asshole. I just don't get to do. Well, I guess I can still be loud and rowdy, but it's less fun when you're by yourself at home. So
I know everyone's saying, look, you have a 0.00125% chance. Like, yeah, sure. Tell that to the people who have gotten this and died. And I mean, they're part of that statistic. And even then, like that number is still a pretty big number when you consider the population of the country. So I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm in it for the long haul.
I just look at it from a perspective of, people close to me who, may be at higher risk. That's the way I look at it. It's like, can I take a little bit of inconvenience to keep them from being dead? Yeah, I sure can. It's not that hard to do at all. I'll wear my mask. That's fine. I don't go out nearly as much as I once did because obviously, Rona.
Well, I was listening to John Taffer's podcast, and he interviewed Donald Trump recently. He actually wanted to interview both candidates.
That had to be a fascinating interview.
Oh, it was like interesting.
Those two together, my God.
At the end of it, Trump was saying, I hope you run for office one day. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Trump was talking over him, but I think Taffer said he's considering it. So that's a topic.
Coming to you, 2021.
Yeah. But I remember Taffer said something, and I don't remember the numbers, but he said there have been a lot of jobs lost in the restaurant industry, which is believable because restaurants are, shutting down some tables. No pun intended with John Taffer there, shutting them down. And obviously you can't serve as many people, and not many people are going to restaurants, so you don't need some of these people working there. So it's sad to see, man. But here's what I'll always tell people, and I know this has gotten political. Me personally, look, we can't bring back lives, but businesses can die and come back.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's going to be hard. And look, as a business owner, man, I get it. But a business can come back from the dead. A human life cannot.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the challenge there is the factoring in the ramifications of the job loss and the income loss that comes with it.
For sure.
I could certainly understand kind of both sides of that particular coin. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm all about whenever we're going out, ordering in. I guess is a better way to put it. I haven't eaten in a restaurant in quite some time.
I miss that.
But no, me too, man. Me too. But anytime I order in anymore, it's like, all right, I'm going to try to do my best to, keep it to the locals for the most part, just because that they don't have the same buffer that.
Oh, 100%.
And there's plenty of restaurants, certainly around here, that it's like, whoa, if they were to die, I'd be very, very upset. I wouldn't want that to happen at all. Like those are, the staple places,
Yeah.
So yeah, the chains certainly don't get my money anymore, but I'm pretty all right with that.
Man, I will say I'm excited for the Chiefs though. Le'Veon Bell, this offense,
Le'Veon Bell revenge tour, sign me up.
Yeah, that's happening this weekend against the Jets. Great timing to sign with the Chiefs, but
yeah.
Look,
I forget who I was listening to. It was one of the 6 or 8 10s. I'll be honest. I have them both programmed in my car whenever I'm driving around, and I'll switch depending on who has an ad going and when. Used to be a little more loyal listener to one or the other, but at this point, it's like, I'm not driving nearly as much as I once did, so I don't worry about it. But one of them suggested, it's like, this is about to be a clinic. Andy Reid is going to be over there showing Adam Gase, see, this is how you do it. This is how you use your running backs effectively. You had this, you screwed it up. You're welcome.
Well, here's a question I have for you, because and it's such a weird question, because you have a guy that has won regular season MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and has thrown 50 touchdowns in a season. What was essentially his rookie year, but in a weird way, I'm wondering if we become a run-first team, because if you look at that Buffalo game, the Chiefs ran the ball more than they ever did under Andy Reid, and you have right now a first-round draft pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you have Le'Veon Bell, who, it's been a while since we've last seen him in his full self, in his mode, but he was once the best running back in the league. He's definitely going to thrive under Andy Reid, but it kind of makes me wonder, are the Chiefs going to be a run-heavy team now?
I don't know that we necessarily – I think that, I guess a better way to answer this, I would say short-term, you'll see some of that. But really what we're going to be isn't necessarily a run first team or a pass first team. We're going to be we're going to take whatever the defense is going to give us kind of team, because we have the opportunity to do both running and passing incredibly well. You've got one of the deepest wide receiver cores in the league, and now a great 1-2 punch in the running back core. And then we've got, the offensive line who can block. And also this guy, Andy Reid, I guess he's a pretty good offensive coach. I hear he's pretty creative with how he gets people in space.
I feel like he's gotten more creative in the last year too.
I think you're right. And I think it's, partially just because so many more toys. And also, he's got toys who can do, really unique things that are very complementary of each other. Mahomes and Tyreek Hill would not be the same without the other.
I fully agree with that. I don't think people realize that too.
Yeah. Realistically, you have the fastest guy in the NFL. That's great.
Yep.
But if you don't have the quarterback who can blow it open over the top and take full advantage of that, he's never going to be as good as he could be. And then same goes for, you can have the guy with the strongest arm in the league, but, if he's playing in, catch and check down sort of offense, or, has receivers who just can't get open over the top, then what good is that? It's just kind of a question of, you have to have a little of both. And in this case, we have a little of all of it on the offensive side of the ball. Seriously, as cliche as it is a pick your poison sort of scenario where it's like, yep, you can leave your safeties back, clear the box to keep us from beating you over the top. Great. Here's Clyde Edwards-Helaire for however many carries a game, the way that he did at Buffalo. I mean, I forget exactly what the number was there. I used to be sharp around this, but we don't do this as often, so less
Yeah.
sharp.
I'll be honest. I don't really follow a lot of the stuff as closely as I used to. Part of it's because I'm busy, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't have time for the podcast anymore. But no, man, it's just insane. Like to think, I think about like all the years of struggles this team has gone through, or even look at the Dick Vermeil era when you had an amazing offense, both passing and running. I know it's not to the same caliber as what it is now, but you had a great offense and a great passing and rushing attack, but not a really good defense. I mean, there were some highlights here and there, as any team would have, but the defense was just bad. And now
that
you
team
just
was
have,
great in two facets of the game, not three.
yeah, for sure.
Because you had the offense and then Dante Hall doing Dante Hall things, which was so much fun to watch. I mean, that's what I grew up on.
Oh, me too. It's insane.
I remember going out to the stadium. We had tickets in the back row. It was awesome.
Oh,
like
it was
back row of
insane.
the stadium. I kid you not.
But the thing is like, you don't have a Dante Hall player necessarily, but so many players have thrived.
We have like three of them
in that area. Right now, Byron Pringle is the popular candidate for it. Hopefully he gets more playing time on both on special teams and on offense. But it's like defensively, I get it. We have so many issues on defense, but even then, our defense is still a lot better.
Fine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Are they the highlight of our team? No. And that's not to denigrate them in any way. Like defense is plenty good, but are they the thing that we're going to rely on to carry us? In the play. Like I guess a better way to put this, if you told me that in the Super Bowl we had to rely on our defense to win us the game, I'd be like, shit, we lost that game.
Yeah,
safe bet. Not because the defense is bad, but because of the facets that the Chiefs currently have. If you're going to rely on any of those things to win you a game, it's probably going to be the offense. Just because, well, duh. There's this guy named Mahomes, all these other pieces we talked about, like, makes perfect sense to pretty much anybody with a functioning brain. The defense isn't going to lose us games. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it can win us a couple because, I mean, you can't count out anything with the Honey Badger back there. Or, I mean, heck, realistically, I think you could make a good case that, the defense, I guess, kind of did win us the Denver game because
I was going to say the Patriots game, too.
Yeah, I suppose so. So I'm going to actually end up walking that comment straight back because we've got a defense that doesn't lose us games either. We've got plenty of pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you're realistically, I mean, you got probably 3 All-Pros, 2 for sure, and then, Frank Clark, depending on how you look at him, with obviously Chris Jones and the Honey Badger being the other 2. And I think that the linebacking core is getting better. I mean, as Willie Gay gets more and more comfortable, seems like things are going pretty well for him. Juan Thornhill's a stud in the back. And then Dirty Dan Sorensen doing Dirty Dan things. Like, I didn't think he had pick sixes in him, but that was a fun new trick. So, I mean, honestly, like, where's the hole on this team? Like, I guess say cornerback play?
Cornerback for sure.
We tend to scheme that out pretty well.
I mean, I'd say offensive line, linebacker, and cornerback, which... Look, I mean, and I wrote about this on Arrowhead Addict. If you're going to pay Mahomes so much money, the next biggest investment you need to make is with the offensive line. And look, I hope I'm wrong, but I think at some point,
I mean, which we did, if we're being honest, like the offensive line isn't struggling right now due to underinvestment. The offensive line is struggling due to we had the Canadian doctor who's off treating COVID as he should be. Totally respect, no issues whatsoever. Lucas Niang, who we drafted out of TCU, who's by all accounts going to be a stud, but we don't know because he opted out this year. These things happen. And then you got Mitchell Schwartz, who has had a bulky back pretty much all year. Who am I missing? I mean, Osemele came in and did a hell of a job on the offensive, especially from a run blocking standpoint. Like, he was a mean dude in there, and that was fun to watch. But then he blew out a tendon in his knee. So, like, really, it's more injuries and opt-outs that we're dealing with than it is.
That's a fair point.
Lack of investment or talent.
I still think you need depth there because here's my thing. Look, Mahomes has proven he can win with anyone. Now, he's done it in a very small window. That Week 17 game when Albert Wilson was his best receiver and they took out Kareem Hunt because they just wanted him to get the rushing title that year, and then Anthony Sherman was the running back the rest of the game. It's like he can win with just about anyone. I'm not saying I want to take my chances with those caliber kind of guys, but we know
that's
he can
how you waste Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, oh,
If we're
100%.
being
Yeah,
honest
and
here,
Aaron
like
Rodgers had so
that's
many
the
different weapons
issue.
over the years. So Drew Brees, same thing. But it's just at the end of the day, man, what you have on this offense, and again, offensive line. If there's anything that I think can lose this team a game in the playoffs, I think it would be bad offensive line play. I think that really hurt the
That's fair.
Chiefs in that Raiders game. And in a way, I don't know, maybe that Raiders loss was the wake up call they needed. I know a lot of people want to talk about 19-0 and going undefeated. I know I predicted that last year, but it's just so hard to do. It just really is. And maybe, when you lose a game, you can at least work on some of the things and try to prevent those in a January or February setting. So, the fact that Le'Veon Bell's coming in, man, most importantly, like that's taking pressure off Mahomes in another way. Like he's got another weapon to work with or to throw to, or even then just hand the ball off to. I mean, I know we just alluded to this earlier, and I know every Chiefs fan has said this, but it never gets old. Like you've got playmakers everywhere in offense. So the defense doesn't have to be this perfect facet on your team. If they are great, but even if they're not, look, you got an offense that's really capable of putting up a lot of points on the scoreboard. So, Le'Veon Bell, I don't know how far he is with his progress learning this offense and all. I know it's going to take some time. Maybe in a couple of weeks, he should be fully acclimated. I don't know.
I'm
But
gonna stick it out there right now. I'm gonna guess he's got a 100-yard day coming on Sunday.
yeah,
Just
I
to
don't know.
be honest.
Maybe. I don't know if I know a lot of people are expecting that because it is his former team and all.
He
So we'll
knows the
see.
weaknesses because he goes up against. I mean, he spent the majority of the offseason and the year prior going up against that defense every day in practice. He knows where the holes are.
No, that is
Um,
true. Yeah, I don't think there are a
and
lot of.
realistically, I don't think. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of holes on that defense.
No,
If we're
for sure.
being
Yeah,
honest
that's
with
what I was going to
ourselves.
say. I don't think
But
they provide a lot of challenges.
no, they do not. And then you factor in that Andy's going to find a way to get him the ball, and he'll be able to do whatever he needs to do from there. Like I don't think it's going to be too difficult for Le'Veon Bell to show Adam Gase what he could have had.
Yeah,
He and his silly bug eyes.
that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm
Sorry,
sure
that's
that's
not nice.
like the Chiefs don't have a lot of media coverage for this Sunday on that that CBS map the 506 provides.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because like it's going to be a blowout.
yeah. I mean that is
I mean,
true. I
or
think,
it should.
but here's the thing: a lot of people still care about that because that is the Le'Veon Bell game. Like that's essentially what it is.
Sure.
I remember.
Well, I mean, what are we up against though, as far as other games at the same time?
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is people aren't going to watch the game, but they're going to still look up just to see how Le'Veon Bell's doing. Like they care about that. That's the most
Yeah, that's
important
fair.
thing. I do
By
remember
the same
when
token,
Larry
there's this magical
Johnson.
thing called Red Zone for that.
I see. I have Sunday ticket, but I'm not a red zone guy. I don't like it. I know that's. I'm in the minority.
I enjoy it for I mean, whenever the Chiefs aren't playing, like the off window, honestly, I prefer it whenever the Chiefs are going to play like Sunday night or Monday night. Then that normally that noon on Sunday window where it's like a bunch of games that I kind of a little bit care about, but am not super invested in. That's when I will lock in for some red zone time. And
See,
normally, I'll have my computer out and be working on something else too, just because I don't sit still super well. I'll sit down and watch a KC game and a KU basketball game, and that's kind of it that I'll actually block off the time for.
I have a Sunday ticket, but I don't have red zone. But the on the Sunday ticket, how they have those 8 screens on one channel and then 4 screens on another channel. So if there aren't enough games for the 12 o'clock kickoff games, the 8th or 7th screen, they'll put it on red zone. So you can essentially watch red zone that way.
Nice.
So I've done that before. So you can kind of save a little bit of money there watching red zone in that way. But yeah, I know a lot of people are they've got some sort of interest in this just to see how Le'Veon Bell does. I remember Larry Johnson when he played against the Chiefs the same year he was released in 2009, and he went at it with one of the linebackers we had at the time. I think it was Demario Williams. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah,
I know
that was a name we had at one point. I don't remember much about him.
Yeah, I don't really either, but I do remember them going at it at one point. So I think I don't know if Le'Veon Bell's going to do that. Hopefully not, because you don't want that tabbed on your team with that newcomer. But I'm just excited for this team overall, man. I know we sound like a broken record as fans collectively saying this, but it's just so many weapons, yet another weapon that Brett Veach has brought in. And at this point, the sky's the limit with this offense, with this team in general.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the only thing that'll keep it, I mean, like, they really ought to be able to score. I mean, not quite at will because it's still the NFL. Let's be fair here.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I think that the only reason, if this team doesn't go on to set a bunch of offensive records, it's because Andy Reid's a nice guy and he doesn't like to totally blow out and embarrass his competitors there.
He does get complacent with leads sometimes. Yeah. I've been critical of that of him. One other thing is, you never want to put too much on film, but hopefully you still have a big enough. Here's the other thing, man.
Honestly, I bet this week we're going to treat it like a pretty. I mean, I hate to say this because we are playing another NFL team in the regular season, but I would imagine from a play calling perspective, I'm going to guess that Andy Reid gets about this deep into his bag of tricks, max. Like, if he even opens his bag of tricks, I'll be pretty surprised.
That's my thing. But here's my thing. I think when you have so much talent on this team, maybe the last thing you should be concerned about is putting too much on film. Because as far as playbooks in general, I mean, there are a lot of plays every team has in the NFL and college, whatever. But when you've got so many players on your team, like the Chiefs do, so many great players, that is, I should say, I mean, there shouldn't be a limit on this team. That's all I'm saying. But we'll see how that all pans out.
That's true. Like, from a scheming perspective, like, you could only scheme out so much of this offense. Like, from a defensive perspective, like, you could only cover so much. And realistically, like, I struggle to find the defense in today's NFL who has the pieces to hang across the entire board. Like, they just don't. There's going to be mismatches somewhere because, plain and simple, like, roster-wise, like, there's mismatches on the roster.
Yeah.
Like, even if you double up, like, there's only so many, there's still 11 on 11. And if my 11 is that much, stronger than your 11, there's not a lot you can do about
that. Did you see the Chiefs offended some people on Friday?
Oh, who'd we piss off and how?
I guess, the word vote is going to be placed at the 25-yard line. You saw the logo.
For fuck's sake. I'm sorry. Can I say that on this?
Yeah, you can cuss on this.
All right, cool.
There's a little
for
E.
Sake, guys. Like,
there's a little E on the podcast.
Like, well,
no, I was just gonna say
good.
there's that thing that says E next to the podcast, so you're good.
It's for exactly situations such as this, where it's like, Farzin or Zach sees something and is just like, "What the hell, man!" Like,
what's funny is, so the Chiefs had the Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Mahomes. They were both part of the Black Lives Matter thing. As we all know. And then for the first game of the year, they both wore T-shirts that said "Vote" with the Chiefs logo and everything in Chiefs colors, which are primarily red. And every time the Chiefs promote, the vote, they're encouraging people to vote. And when they promote that and they use their logo, people are like, "Oh yeah, vote Chiefs red." It's like, if you think that logo is encouraging, voting in a separate direction, I mean, they're trolling, I know, but So here's what they're doing.
Realistically, like, I failed to understand how people can be offended by someone saying, "Hey, you should probably exercise your civic duty and your right as an American citizen."
Let me say something.
Vote.
Let me say something about this, okay? Yeah. I get it. I have not received any of the text messages, thank God. But even if I did, man, look, I know people are tired of hearing from politicians. I go on YouTube, man, and all these ads, the only ads I'm seeing are
everywhere.
Are the political ads. I get it. It's not.
And somehow they got my fucking cell phone too. So like,
Roger
that's
Marshall never fun
around here running for the Kansas Senate is merciless. I have hit stop on like 6 or 7 just this week of different numbers that are hitting me. It's like, hey, I told you to stop. So
they never stop. Of course.
No, they just try a new number. It's fucking obnoxious.
Well, here's my thing. Look, I'd rather hear about all of these things. And look, it's expected. You knew this was going to happen. I'd rather hear about these candidates and be told to vote 24/7 rather than hear about, mass shootings, all these criminal activities that we just hear constantly.
There's one thing COVID's been good for. I think that's one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if the stats for sure, and I really hope I'm not wrong here, because God, that would suck. But I'm pretty sure we've done a better job of, as a society, of course, not shooting up massive amounts of people, because we can't have massive amounts of people in one space anymore. So
Yeah. Well,
I
hopefully, I
guess
mean, that
tiny miracles
changes.
of the quarantine.
Hopefully that changes when normalcy returns and all. But look, it's like if you're offended because the Chiefs are going to put a vote logo at the 25-yard line, like I hear people talk. Someone was on my Facebook when this whole race talk was going on. They said, "Oh, I can't handle watching this." I'm like, "Why? It's before the game. Most of the time, they don't even show it on TV. It's not going to hinder your viewing experience." They're like, "Yeah, it does." I'm like, "Then go fucking get a beer from your
You're an
fridge
adult. If
or use
that
the
is going to
restroom."
impede your ability to sit there and enjoy a
I don't know.
football game, if that upsets you that much, I don't know how to help you.
Well, these are the people who tell others that they're snowflakes here. I mean,
Yeah.
think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean here or anything, but look, listen. Here's what I'm going to say. Uh, and I know that we're getting a little political here, but if you look at 2016, 129 million people. I don't have that exact number, but around 129 million people voted. And the population at the time was 323 million. So 40% of Americans voted, 60% didn't. And a lot of those 60%, they were unhappy with the result and they've been complaining nonstop. Well, they didn't vote. I don't know if you saw this, but the state of Texas, they already surpassed their vote total from 2016, according to a couple of reports. Yeah. So, all these people, and I think we're pretty close to surpassing that 129 million. I think we might have 129
right now. Just because I could kind of tell this is where you were going, I went and pulled some stats real quick.
Yeah.
As of right now, countrywide, we have cast 62.7% already today through early voting, as we did the entirety of the 2016 election.
There you go. I mean,
Texas is the only state that's actually broken its record from last year that I can tell.
Okay.
Quick, rolling over the rest of the
states. Yeah, here's what I will say. I think we do surpass that 129 million. But anyway,
okay, Texas and Hawaii. Hawaii has done it too. Let it be known.
There you go. Shout out to Hawaii. In case
we have any Hawaiian listeners who would be upset that we did not acknowledge this.
Shout out to Hawaii. No, but here's the thing. So all these people who are upset that the Chiefs are encouraging people to vote. Two things I'm going to say about this. Number one, we had a lack of voters last time, so we're encouraging people to do it. Number two, there are people who love to constantly remind people about how proud they are for freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. And look, rightfully so, as long as you follow the rules and all that, I have no problem with you bragging about that stuff. It's great. Those are your rights as an American. But why is it that you love to praise those amendments, those rights, but when you are encouraged to exercise your right to vote, that's suddenly annoying? Do you know what I mean?
For the life of me, I mean, it's not like they're telling you have to vote for, like literally, correct me if I'm wrong here, the thing that they're putting down at the 25-yard line, it says vote, just vote, not vote for candidate A, candidate B, all the above. It just says vote, correct?
Yes.
They're not telling you how to vote. They're just telling you, hey, this is probably a good idea. You should do this, which you fucking should.
Yeah,
unless,
for sure.
Of course, by the same token, if you're completely uninformed, I don't know, maybe sit this one out. I get that too. But as a general rule, you should be informed. You should want to vote. This is not that hard. I literally did it yesterday, because advanced, voting's a nice thing. It was super simple, in and out in 10 minutes. Way to go, Johnson County. I know this is not that way across the nation, because obviously, there's a lot of
where'd you vote
going on. That Hilltop.
Yep, that's where I went.
That used to be the church or whatever. 143rd. Yeah.
I used to live
super simple.
So my family and I, we used to live right there. That's why. Have you ever been there before? When I used to live there? Okay, well,
went to your new spot.
Yeah, the new spot. Yeah,
spot.
But Yeah, I used to live there. I lived there for most of my life, so I think 15 years. And then shortly after college is when I moved. So, yeah, that's where I went to vote as well. The line was pretty long when I went. But then as
It
soon as
just
I was
looked
leaving,
long though, because like the 6 feet social distancing or
yeah,
whatever.
that's
Like
part of it. Yeah,
to
for
actually
sure.
get through it, I seriously, I'm pretty sure I took 10 minutes.
Oh, mine was about an hour, but I didn't
Oh,
mind.
really?
I was
Well,
all
that's a
for
bummer.
it.
I'm sorry to hear that. I
I
mean, to
was
be
I was
fair, I
for it.
went like at 1 o'clock on a Thursday,
Well,
so
what's funny
hope my
is
boss isn't listening because I definitely took my lunch break to go vote. So
what's funny is everyone had a mask with the exception of like 5 or 6 people while I was there. And I don't know if you had to have a mask.
I'm
I
pretty
could be
sure you
wrong.
did. I mean, I don't know.
So
I didn't see anybody who didn't. So
well, there was one woman. She took off her sweater and just wrapped it around her face. I'm like, that's pretty creative.
I guess do what you have to, but like
It's funny. I
at this
remember
point, like
someone.
it's not like you don't have a mask. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. Like early on in this nonsense, like I was definitely like, well, I'll just hang on to this little flimsy disposable one for a bit because I'm not going to go out and buy a mask. And I didn't go out and buy a mask. Mom made some because she's good at sewing and stuff. And I have a really cool Chiefs mask that I'll wear. And then I got another one because a buddy of mine got married, even though it was all of this COVID stuff. That was one of the groomsmen gifts. So I've got a nice little mask that says Stegs on it, which is great fun. And I enjoy wearing it. And, makes wearing a mask suck substantially less. But at this point, like if you've been paying any attention, you haven't been living under a rock somewhere. And if you have been living under a rock, let's be honest, if I emerged from any of that and saw 2020 for what it is, I think I'd go right back under that rock real quick. But that notwithstanding, like, there's no excuse for not having a mask on you at this point. Like, to at least carry it with you, whether you are happy about it or not. I think we can all agree, like, you've got them, use them.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah,
or at least you've got them.
The whole
maybe
vote
can't
thing.
agree on the use them part, but I don't know.
I do think it's funny that a lot of people were upset over the Chiefs. Telling people to vote, but
again, like it's not like they're saying you have to vote one way or the other. They're just saying like, hey,
maybe that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to respond to. I mean, look, I think you're right. They're not saying how to, but because a lot of people didn't vote before and were unhappy with the result, I think we know why they're telling you to vote. So in a way, you could say, okay, maybe it is wanting people to lean in a direction. Look, I'm not going to disagree with that, but understand one thing, man. Clark Hunt, and judging by his family's social media when they talk about politics,
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that
they're on the right.
They do vote red.
Yeah, and whatever happens,
they own the Chiefs.
Whatever happens with the Chiefs, Clark Hunt doesn't have a big involvement in it, but I imagine ownership has to approve of these kinds of things. So
sure, it's not like the owners. I guarantee you, Clark isn't telling any of the players how he wants them to vote. I mean, they probably all have a general understanding. I would go out on a limb there and guess, but like again, that's the beauty of America, right there. Is like you don't have to go one way or the other. Like we just kind of want you to participate, want you to be a part of things.
Yeah, and I know it upsets people, when someone's talking about politics, unless it's to endorse their like I'm sure you've seen this. Athletes get told. Mahomes was even talking about this. All the comments he got sticking to sports and all, but Colby Covington of the UFC, actually Dana White. I mean, he has been recently heavily involved with Donald Trump, but do you see him being told stick to sports? No. I mean, he's out there. He was part of the RNC.
Stick to sports particularly does seem to go one direction. That's very fair.
I was writing about this on Arrowhead Addict, and we knew this was going to, spark some upset readers. So we did talk about this with higher up editors at Fansided. And somewhere in the article I wrote, it's not in there now. In fact, it never was. But in the first draft, before we published that story, I talked about how a lot of times if an athlete speaks against Trump, that they're told to stick to sports. And the higher up editor said, this is not true at all. I'm like, oh boy, I can share social media comments if you want to have this conversation. But I did not. I did not go that route because I just wasn't going to go into it with anyone. I was trying to make this a point that, hey, look, athletes are allowed to endorse candidates. You don't have to agree with them.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, this is not athletes to preface here, but I mean, I have definitely seen in like at least just the last week, I mean, at least 3, if not more, different rappers coming out. I mean, Lil Wayne came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Kanye, I think, had come out, though he's also kind of running. So I don't know. He's his own.
I don't know what's going on with him.
and I'm pretty okay with that. Like, I don't either. And it's like, all right, Kanye's going to go do Kanye things.
Yeah.
But, Ice Cube then, got hit the week before. And people, will definitely shout him down, being like, stick to music, so to speak. I mean, like, they don't say that, but like they are shocked and appalled that, any of these artists might, possibly entertain the concept of voting for Trump, or in the case of Lil Wayne, openly endorse him. It's like, who cares? Like, well, I'm not going to change what I'm going to do based on what an entertainer, an athlete, any of all the above are going to, their endorsement is not.
No, I 100% agree with you.
I think that's silly.
But there are people who are influenced by their heroes, like, well, here's the thing. I don't like that personally. I think you should be able to think for yourself.
Oh, I totally agree with you. By the same token, it's like, I mean, I would imagine that in the grand scheme of it, you have people who are influenced by one person versus another. I would imagine that by the end of it, it all kind of balances out. Like, you have people who, man, I'm just waiting to see who Lil Wayne's going to vote for. Once he tells me, that's how I'll know. And then by the same token, insert just about any other celebrity here who is, less Trump supporting. I would imagine that those two followings balance out to a level.
Well, did you see The Rock when he endorsed Biden and Harris, the reactions he got? Oh, he got destroyed on social.
I mean, this shit happens a lot. And ultimately, it comes down to the fact that, like, it's kind of ridiculous how divisive things have gotten, where, I mean, you mentioned this earlier, where you hop on YouTube for anything, it's nothing but ads. When's the last time one of those ads was like, hey, vote for me because here's what I'm going to do and here's why I'm a good person? Very rarely has it been, vote for me because pro me. More often than not, it is, vote for me because I'm not the other guy.
Well, recently I'm seeing a lot of these ads just basically defend themselves. So, for example, I'm in Kansas. I'm seeing Roger Marshall ads where they're criticizing Barbara Bollier. It's funny how they play it on TV sometimes. They'll play a Roger Marshall ad, and then they'll play a Barbara Bollier ad. And that next ad, that Barbara ad, is her basically defending herself for all the comments that was said in the previous ads. So I do kind of find it funny how the timing of those ads appear on TV. But no, you're right.
I think I could solve this entire problem in one legislative shot. And the only people who would be pissed off would be the news media, who would lose some ad revenue as a result. I think it's very simple to just put a cap on what each candidate can spend or have spent on their behalf by outside PACs, whatever. X amount of money will be spent on political ads, this election cycle. Use it how you will. And also, I mean, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to be like, no more negative campaign ads. Stop it. Tell me why you're better, not why the other person's worse.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really doable. that kind of makes it hard.
It's kind of a pie in the sky thing. Like, I'd have to be, in charge, which I'm not. But, sure seems like a nice, simple solution, doesn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you are kind of, I don't want to say you're kind of limiting them on the First Amendment and all, but I think,
well, I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, I think that'd be the big issue there. But yeah, I mean, look, we all know the ads are going to go away soon. So just be patient. We all knew it was coming. So,
I mean, are they though? Like, I swear the starting point for these ads starts earlier and earlier in the cycle every freaking
I think year. Because, with the way things are politically, I think that's a big reason for that. By the way, I did want to ask you this. Are you a big hockey fan?
I dabble. Not a huge fan, though.
Did you hear about the Arizona Coyotes?
Yeah, I did hear about this. Like the
So
guy that they like renounced the rights to or something.
so for those who haven't heard, and I'm trying to find his name, Mitch Miller, I think they just drafted this guy in the third or fourth round of the draft, but I don't think he's playing right away. I think he's moving on to play college in Michigan. I could have that wrong. I'm trying to look this up as I'm talking about it. But oh, North Dakota, University of North Dakota. Anyway, so I guess
Which
the
I'm gonna
Arizona
guess is like a bigger
Coyotes.
deal for hockey, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess the Coyotes found out through his social media that he had said some racist things and bullied a black classmate, and also, I don't know if this is the same classmate or another classmate. He made fun of a student with special needs, and
As I understood it, I believe it was the same classmate who
oh,
happened to
was
be
it the
both,
same?
but
Okay,
I'm not positive on this.
listen.
I
Here's
may
what
have
I'll
just
say.
misread an article.
If I was criticized and judged for things I said when I was a kid, you find a lot of things. I'd like to think, and I'm certain I've never said any of this. I know we forget things as kids, but I'm certain I never made fun of special needs or said any racist comments. I mean, I learned to be better than that. Um, Look, man, I'll say it now. Good for the Arizona Coyotes. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, he
Yeah.
was just a kid," but I think at the end of the day, anyone under 18 that sees this story, and I hope they all see the story, it just makes them understand that. Look, there was a college basketball player on Villanova's team who had a great game. Maybe it was a different college team. I don't remember, but he had a great national championship game, and then people during the game found, his racist tweets from years ago when he was a kid. It's like, you got
I
to
think
be
that might have
very
been Archie
careful.
Diacono.
What's that?
I think it might have been Archie Diacono, but I could
I
be wrong.
think you're right. I'm not sure, but it just shows you that,
I'll
look,
be
man.
honest, like when it comes down to this particular brand of like, I mean, and this is one of the challenges you have with social media across the board. This particular brand of gotcha. I'll be honest, I just kind of had to think through that old Villanova roster. It's like, all right, find the white guy. And I'm pretty sure it was Archie Diacono.
I think at the end of the day, doesn't matter how old you are. If you were a kid and you said some stupid shit online, it's going to come back to haunt you one day. It does take some people to, these Twitter investigators to go through with all of that. But at the end of the day, I think I like what the Arizona Coyotes did. It sends a message and it says, look, if anyone ever wants to play sports professionally, get your act together now. If you're going to say things online or even not online, just out and about. Because here's the thing, man, scouts learn a lot of things. Scouts talk to a lot of people. They don't just talk to coaches. They'll talk to teachers too sometimes, maybe not as much, but they do that stuff. They will do research on you as much as possible. So make sure, you are a model, maybe not a model citizen, but at least you're behaving, I guess.
So not the opposite of a model citizen. Like you don't want to be the model in the opposite direction either. Though by the same token on this, like I do also believe very heavily in the prospect of being able to redeem oneself and growing as a human. Because like let's be honest, if there's one thing about this kind of social media driven world that I really don't love, it is kind of that level of like, you said this once, you're terrible. That kind of that mentality of the cancel culture, I don't totally believe in. Don't get me wrong. That's not me saying like, hey, go out and say all the shit you want. Not at all what I'm saying here. But I think that, if you're completely ignorant from one perspective and you learn and you can demonstrate that and, kind of essentially make up for the, pain that you've caused, I think that, that has to be part of it, if that makes any sense. Like, if this kid, is able to go through college, and I don't know exactly what to make this particular situation right, but put forth, some level of effort on that. And again, I'm not the arbiter here, nor do I.
That's what the University of, what was it, North Dakota or South Dakota, whichever one it was. I can't remember.
I would hope that they stuck by him at least to a point, because like, you can't.
They said they're going to work on
Don't
that
get me
with
wrong,
him.
not that I agree with any of what he did or said or any of all that. I don't. But I also don't agree with, the absolute, melting of his professional prospects for, something stupid that he did as a kid. Like, again, there's varying degrees of this. I'm so glad I'm not in charge of judging any of this, because my God, like, there's so many different situations like this, that have come out in the last, call it, 5-10 years ish, of
Yeah.
people who have, again, just been judged heavily based on one mistake they made early on. And again, I think that if there's a demonstrable shift in tone and understanding, I don't think that those opportunities need to be taken away. Now, by the same token, if you were to double down and pull shit like that again, well, yep, you didn't learn. Sorry, pal. See ya.
Yeah, the University of North Dakota did say that they are going to stick by him and they're going to work on that stuff with him to make sure he kind of that he learns from it, and hopefully he does. Because that, I'm sure, was a devastating blow, and I think anyone younger than him that has aspirations of playing professionally one day or even collegiately, just kind of shows you maybe you do need to clean up any of your social media or whatever you've got going on, because
I mean,
they look that stuff
not
up.
be an asshole.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
don't get me wrong. I say that as an asshole. So, like,
Me too.
Obviously not that kind, but let's be fair. I think that it is certainly important to be mindful of what you post and where.
Did you see the new Borat movie on Amazon Prime? Dude.
Yeah. I guess you also need to be mindful of, which actress you mistake for a Fox News or similar,
Oh, God.
Here's looking at you, Giuliani.
Well, what's funny is, first of all, I mean, you burst out laughing several times in the movie, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So
then there were other points where I was just like, ooh.
Well, for sure, but there was
some real cringy shit in there too.
I rewatched a couple of moments, and there are things you miss because you're bursting out loud laughing, especially if you're watching with a group of people. I watch it with my family because we love Borat. I remember my parents showed me my brother and I Borat years ago. But it's like you miss things because you were laughing, and it's like, thank God this wasn't in the theaters, because everyone would be laughing nonstop all the way through, and you would not hear things during the movie. So I am gonna rewatch it a second time just to like try to see there are moments that I missed. You remember when he was at those guys' house for 5 days or whatever, and he's like, we need onions. He's like, you have onions? And he starts hugging him, and I'm laughing. And while I'm laughing, I missed this the first time. He goes, fuck the social distancing. I'm like, oh boy. Okay. So there were multiple times during the movie while I'm watching it, I'm like, I can't believe there was a Borat 2 and that he's doing this. It's like,
yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I think that, I would just struggle. I mean, like, when it comes to like satirizing things, like, honestly, like, I genuinely feel bad for like the South Park guys at this point, because like part of the joy of satire is making up things that are more absurd than real life. And here in 2020, that's fucking difficult.
Oh yeah,
because real life is absurd enough as it is. But leave it to Borat. He could pull that off. I mean, realistically, I never thought that we'd get another Borat anyway. Like, it was hilarious. It was great for its time. Fantastic. And honestly, I probably need to go back and rewatch the old one again, because like I forget some of that.
Oh, I watched it.
This one, it's like
the second one.
2020, man. Like, I mean, it's never could you have a better foil for some of the ridiculousness out there, especially this year in 2020, than what Borat does.
Well, what's so crazy is,
that said, I also hope to God that people understand it's a satire.
Oh,
and I'm looking at, especially like people who are a little younger and don't get it at the point. Like, that's really kind of where I'm at, where it's like, okay, yeah, people are laughing at this. This is funny, but you gotta know why.
Yeah.
If not, you're gonna have some real mixed up ideas about things.
Well, obviously, Rudy Giuliani, he's tried to defend himself for it, or against it, I should say.
He's probably not laughing anymore.
Yeah. Oh God, no. I mean, when he tweets, everyone is replying with Borat gifs. I mean, it's just that's never gonna escape him, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
I gotta say, like, again, not to get political on this at all, because like, I mean, I'm sick of that, but I did think it was pretty freaking funny how I guess Trump weighed in on some of that Giuliani stuff, and was pretty much dissing on Sacha Baron Cohen and Borat and the whole bit. And
What did
I
he
did think
say?
it was pretty. I will find it. Give me 1 second.
All I heard is that he said he's not funny, which I know they have personal beef because I guess when Sacha Baron Cohen was Ali G, he tried to interview him, and Trump claims he knew right away, but Sacha Baron Cohen claims that there's more footage, but they've never shared any of that. But even the stuff that they did share is actually pretty damn funny. The woman who was trying to help the daughter, just trying to like encourage her,
Yeah.
she spoke out, and she's laughing about it. The Instagram woman, the sugar baby, I don't know what the exact name is. She spoke out and she thought it was funny. I want to hear from the two guys that let him stay in their house for 5 days.
The other part is like, I mean, I don't know if you remember, when they were like, they're in that bakery and like, I forget what exactly they had printed on the cake, but incredibly
Oh
anti-Semitic.
yeah.
Like, I genuinely wonder, like, all right, were you able to actually find a bakery who was like, yeah, that's fine, sign me up, that's great?
Oh yeah, with what they had printed
Versus,
on there.
like, I mean, again, I don't know for a fact that's a real bake shop. Again,
They spoke out. I know
but
they spoke out
if
publicly.
they, if they were actors or a plant, then that honestly probably makes more sense. But I genuinely wonder on some of that. It's just like,
I think the only actor
really catch one here.
The only actor was the guy who was like the leader of Kazakhstan or whatever. That's the only acting there was in the movie. And whatever Borat and what was her name? Tutar, I think. Yeah, whenever they were alone, like that's the only acting you ever saw in that movie. I love
to something like that to hold up a mirror to society and be like, "Hey, this is you guys. You're a little screwed up still. Maybe work on
that." Props to Sacha Baron Cohen, man. And look, I know there aren't a lot of movies this year, but even if there were, he has to win every Academy Award. Like you just can't go with anyone else at this point.
I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest. I just don't know what the competition will look like. So I'll reserve a level of, judgment.
I talked about
totally
this.
Go on that limb, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
I talked about this a little bit on my last podcast with the movies and all. I don't know if you heard about the James Bond movie. I guess they're weighing their options.
That. Yeah.
And I know Black Widow, now it's been pushed back for an entire year from its original release. The entire Marvel Cinematic Universe is pushed back a year, which sucks. But I don't know. I think a lot of people are looking at what Disney Plus did with Mulan, and I didn't watch it, but I'm guessing that was a failed experiment. I could be wrong.
I don't know for sure, though. What I do know is that on a personal note, it was a failed experiment because they are not getting my $30 for a Mulan that doesn't even have the hilarious Eddie Murphy dragon. I'm sorry, I will not stand for it.
Well, you have that as one model, and then you have Amazon Prime with Borat. It sounds like it was a big success. You didn't have to pay anything for that.
Sorry, couldn't help it. Just was teed up there. So, I couldn't.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are looking at this and saying, look, we got to start getting back to work soon. And is this one way of doing things? I don't know. Amazon Prime you didn't have to pay for Borat. You just have to have an Amazon Prime account. So they played that very well. And the promotion for the movie was pretty strong too. I don't think Disney Plus did a lot of promotion for Mulan. I could be wrong. Sacha Baron Cohen did a lot of promotion because he dressed up as Borat like he did last time and was on Jimmy Kimmel. He did a little gig with a famous YouTuber. Like he did some things, whereas I don't think Disney Plus did any of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm going to guess that in that case, or with that specific film, if we're being honest here, like, U.S. wasn't the target market there. Just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that changed, internationally, but I have no idea, to be honest with you. I just remember seeing they were like, like something like $30 or something. I forget exactly what they were trying to charge for that. I was like, absolutely not.
You're talking about Mulan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was $30.
Which I just think that's ridiculous. Like, I don't pay that for a movie ticket to go see it in the theaters.
Okay,
like, what are you thinking?
So hold on. I disagree with you on that, and here's why. So let's say, you're going with friends or a family of four, okay?
Sure.
4 people. Most people go on weekends, right? How much is a movie
Mhm.
ticket on weekends?
Somewhere between $10 and $15.
Okay, so you've got that. Uh, if you're going with a family of four, that's $40 per, tickets total, whereas the movie is just $30. Then you buy, food and snacks and drinks, whatever, and that total adds up, depending how much you want to eat, your family wants to eat,
And I
whatever.
suppose that's fair. I didn't think about like the mass. I mean, that's a good point. I was not
See,
thinking about like
that's my
this is
thing.
to acquire it for a family of four or something like that. In that case, it makes sense.
I think if you look at that, I think the movie theater industry might start dying slowly. And again, as someone who owns a business,
Uh,
I don't say that lightly.
Dude, AMC, yeah. I don't know if I'd even go right to slowly. Like
What do you mean?
like the movie theater industry, like if we're still in this situation,
Okay. Yo,
months from now, they are screwed.
well, that's the thing because a lot of these buildings that movie theaters are in, they're designed specifically for movie theaters. They would have to revamp those out and rent them out to whatever business wants to be there next. But yeah, it's
I
it's
mean,
kind of crazy.
realistically, I think the only way for it to like from that perspective, to be fair, I'm no commercial real estate guy. I'm just not. I've got friends who do it, but it's not me. But I would guess that in that case, like it's not so much a revamp as a sit and wait and hope that it comes back. Because like I'll be honest, like the second that I'm able to that we're able to be back so sort of to normal, I pretend like it's going to be like a one fell swoop thing, and it's not. But I definitely look forward to going and seeing a movie in the theaters again. I mean, I didn't do it nearly as much, but this, pre-pandemic, I reserved it for like, when the Avengers or, Star Wars or like the
For
big
sure,
marquee
yeah.
ones that like I didn't want to have spoiled for me the next day. Those are the ones I'd go to the theater for.
Well,
But
look at
I've
look at
missed that.
Netflix and Disney Plus. Like they have a lot of exclusive. Amazon does too. Hulu does
Mhm.
also. But there are also a lot of movies that are Netflix exclusive. So it's like
Mhm.
I think that kind of started the conversation of, hey, could we sway away from the movie theater industry? And now because of this pandemic, and I know we haven't had a lot of movies go this route, but uh again, you have a couple of models to look off with Disney Plus and Amazon Prime, but I think there's a chance that maybe we could start seeing the beginning of the end of the movie theater industry. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think it's a question of how long we keep going on this. I don't think it's gonna die. Like I think I honestly might even take the opposite approach, where like this being taken away from us. I mean, and again, it may just be a short term bump, but I would actually imagine that again, once things are some sort of back to normal, you'll see more people going back into the movie theater just because, like, hey, I miss doing that. You know, I mean, I miss paying absurd amounts for freaking popcorn. And like honestly, like it's weird to say, but I
Well,
do.
let me
Like
let
just
me ask you
because
this.
the experience of it is worth the money in
Well,
a
I'll
weird
say
way.
this, man. It's like the virus is one thing, but it's like bed bugs. I mean, a hotspot for them definitely movie theaters. But let me ask you this:
Ooh, thanks for
you
bringing that up.
you
Gross.
like you're a Marvel guy. I am too.
Sure.
Do you think Black Widow comes out? What was it supposed to be? End of April or beginning of May? Do you think it
I think
happens?
that's what it was targeted for, and I think that if we can pull off some layer of a vaccine between now and then, yes, I think it'll still come out in theaters. If not, I think it still comes out in April and May, but not in theaters.
Okay. See,
I
that's
think
my
they
thing
pull a similar
because they
Mulan
can't keep.
style stunt.
I know. I think Marvel wants to give Scarlett Johansson the whole big screen treatment because she does deserve that with everything she's done
Sure.
for the franchise. But at some point, it's like the show's got to go on. You can't keep pushing
Mhm.
these movies back like they are because they're in order, obviously. But
Because let's be honest, like at this rate, by the time that we're back, in movie theaters, there's going to be a new Star Wars ready or something. I don't know.
yeah, but
It'll be time to reboot that shit again.
are you going to see The
Sorry.
Mandalorian season 2?
I'll be honest, I am a terrible, terrible Star Wars fan in that I still haven't finished The Mandalorian season 1. I
I need
know
to
I need
rewatch.
to. I just haven't done it.
My brother and I were talking about season 1, and I just had a brain fart. I forgot about a lot of the stuff that happened in season 1, so I do need to see. I can either watch like a YouTube recap, but I think I'd rather rewatch it, even though it's going to be longer.
Mhm.
Uh, I do recall enjoying it. For some reason, I just don't remember. the specifics. So I am going to watch it again before watching season 2. But from what I've seen on social media, people really like season 2 so far.
I definitely look forward to watching it. I'll be honest, like I sat down to watch The Mandalorian. I think it was, probably back, March, April sort of time frame. But as you may know, and I'm guessing most of our listeners don't, but I have narcolepsy, which is easily on the list of most hilarious diseases in the world, where you kind of fall asleep at inopportune times. And sitting down to watch a movie or a TV show is often one of those times. So I do remember waking up on the couch, a little disoriented, trying to figure out what was going on with The Mandalorian at that point. And I was like, well, great. I guess I just need to restart this whole thing. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to.
I know a friend who's
that's
like
not
that
a commentary on the content at all. I'm sure that I promise it wasn't the content that put me to sleep. Like, let's be honest, I just do that. But that's on my to watch list, which is, to be fair, fairly long.
Yeah, I'm hoping to catch it this weekend. So I've heard it's pretty good, and not a surprise either. So a lot of people were raving about it the first episode when it came out. So
I think honestly, like the thing with that, and like I know that I'm pretty sure Dave Filoni, who was like the guy who was involved with, like, or I guess the main producer for the Clone Wars and all the animated series that they've done. Which, to be fair, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't watched those, I'd recommend it. It's worth your time.
I need to do that.
It's actually really good. Like really, really good. But I think that the reason that those were better received than, say, the most recent trilogy, it's because they were done by people who were super fans first, so to speak, where it's like they have just such a deep reverence for the source material that it's like, no, we're not putting it out if it's not going to be good. I mean, Jon Favreau is pretty widely known to be that as well, and I know he's involved with The Mandalorian. Like, I think with something like that, the love's got to be there for it to be that good.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are waiting on another Star Wars movie, but for now, this is what we have, and I think it's definitely doing a good job, filling in for that Star Wars fix. So I'm looking forward to it.
Plus, hey, new content,
yeah, it's in 2020. Well, yeah, man, that's about all I got. I appreciate you coming in on short notice. This was kind of a crazy week.
It's always
I had
fun.
a couple of different guests lined up, and just things
to be
collapsed.
Fair, it's not like I'm traveling or anything anymore. Like, 9 times out of 10, if you're catching me, I'm probably at my house. Hooray for 2020.
Well, I appreciate you joining me, man. And I appreciate all of you guys who downloaded and listened to this episode of the podcast. We're everywhere now, so please subscribe and share the links. And until then, I will talk to you guys next week. Stay safe. Take care.